Is South Carolina baseball back? No, they are not. But walk-off win, game one against number one LSU. Paul Mainieri, at least for the meantime, has a signature win in his first season at South Carolina. We talk about it next. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. It's your host, Chris Marler. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Thursday night. Hopefully you get this Friday morning. If you do, thank you to everyone making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, maybe you're going to go out to Founders this weekend. And if you do, well, you need the help of our good friends and the sponsor of today's show. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, all capital letters, for $20 off your first purchase. Get the Game Time app today. It is 10:49 p.m. Eastern Time, East Coast. South Carolina just won their sixth SEC game of the year. It's hard to talk about this and not like kind of make jokes about how bad they've been, because they've been so bad. But one of the things we love to see for a South Carolina team is, even in the worst parts of the year, we saw it with basketball, I brought it up the other day. We saw it with basketball nonstop. Even in the worst parts of the year, that team never quit. This team, I'm not saying that they have any of the same type of never give upness of the basketball team that they had during their stretch in the SEC play of the 2024-2025 season. But what I will say is this: after getting your brains beat in by Florida and Auburn, a minus 31 run differential in both series combined. You gave up 85 runs in these 6 games combined. You come back out, you're down 5-1 against Winthrop in the 8th inning on Tuesday. Thursday, the number one team in the country, your head coach's old team, comes to town. And you could have rolled over and died, and you didn't do it. And it's not going to turn this thing around and make them have a push to the postseason unless they somehow, like even sweeping LSU would not make a difference. They would have to win out and win the SEC baseball tournament. But regardless of all that, you guys know I love a positive story way more than a negative story, and we love optimism. And I don't want a sunshine pump, but this win, man, it feels like for the very least, you gave the fans a good taste in their mouth before the end of the season. And thank God, because going into the rest of the season, I thought you were going to lose to Winthrop. I thought that was going to be your rock bottom. Then I thought it was going to be a situation where you were going to get swept by LSU. LSU does this weird thing, and I meant to bring it up on last night's broadcast, but it ended up being too late. We were talking about something totally different than baseball anyway. But I meant to bring it up then because we put this out over at LouisianaSports.net, and my LSU friends and the contingent over there, they brought up the fact that LSU switched up their rotation, where instead of putting Cade Anderson on, who's their game one starter every single weekend, and then Ianson in game 2, and those two have been like nearly unhittable. Like they have been, Ianson especially has been unreal, arguably one of the best pitchers in the country right now over his last few starts. They decided to push them back to 2 and 3, games 2 and 3. I'm assuming it's just to give them extra rest, give them extra day. This series doesn't technically matter to LSU and their postseason chances, but nonetheless, they do that. You have an opportunity, at your fingertips. You have an opportunity in front of you, and there's a lot of negative things you could say about this baseball team and about Paul Mainieri, and I've said a ton of them. There's a lot of things that happen on that field between those white lines, on the pitcher's mound, in the batter's box, that have been very underwhelming and very frustrating all year. But at the last part of the season in your final home series and against the number one, throw out the part about Paul Mainieri's old team. the number one team in the country across the board, by the way. USA Today, number one team in the country. D1 Baseball, number one team in the country. Baseball America, number one team in the country. Came in to Columbia, South Carolina, got off of exit one or Highway 126, got on UG Street, came on down there to Founders, and they're going back to whatever hotel they're staying in with a loss. And that's an awesome, awesome thing for a baseball team that has had this many lows to still find a high before the end of the year. It makes me so happy because, again, we've seen this team do what you would pretty much assume is roll over and die for most of the year. For most of the second part of the year. I mean, we talked about it. They hadn't scored more than 5 runs in a game in like 14 of the last 16 games. They lost 6 straight SEC games by a combined 85 runs. And allowed 85 runs and lost by a combined 62 runs. You needed this. It wasn't a make or break thing. It wasn't like, oh, backs are against the wall, but it was your pride's on the line. And you had a good home crowd and it feels good. It feels good to win. It feels good to get the monkey off your back in terms of like the losing streak that was going on. And it feels good to get a win. In the grand scheme of things, this win might not mean a ton for this season. But when you look at the future of this program, especially if Paul Mainieri is the one still in charge, man, that feels really good being able to end the season on a high note or at least have this moment. There's a lot of bad things that have happened since February started. A lot of injuries, a lot of underwhelming things that happened in the lineup, a lot of underwhelming things that happened in the starting rotation, all that kind of stuff. But you went out there, you gave up 2 runs in the first, by the way, and you went toe-to-toe with the best team in the country. And then, by the way, again, you're down 5-3 in like the 8th inning, and you scratch and claw back and get another run in the 8th to make it 5-4. And then you go to the 9th, and lo and behold, you're able to make something out of nothing. You get a home run to make it 5-5. Then you hit a ball, Oppo, by the way, down the left field line, off the top of the fence, gets a stand-up triple. I think it's a stand-up triple. But, now you have something working. You get first and third with 1 out. You then have was it a strikeout? No, it was like a weak little flare lineup to first base that Jared Jones caught. But then you come up and you make something happen. It's a wild pitch, and you win the game. And you get to go home happy. And this team deserves that regardless of how bad this season has been. The team deserves it. The fans deserve it. And as hard as I have been on this dude, shouldn't say dude because he's a grown 67-year-old man, but as hard as I have been on Paul Mainieri, he deserves it too. Phenomenal win. Great job by all. Very, very excited. When we come back, we're going to talk just a little bit more of the game, recap what to expect on the weekend. Also, softball in action starting Friday night, hosting a regional. And don't forget, if they win, they are in line to host a super regional as well. Before we go to break, I do want to give a quick shout out once again to our friends at Game Time app. And hopefully you guys can use them like I have so many times before. And if you are going out to the ballpark this weekend, definitely hit up our friends at the Game Time app. Or, listen, here's the thing. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. This year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest games, for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. Me and producer Allie over here off screen, you can't see her. We're going to Boston tomorrow. Going to Fenway Park on Saturday, my favorite place on earth. Are we going to go to a Celtics-Knicks Game 6 on the Game Time app?
In New York?
Yeah. No, it's in Boston. I'm an idiot. Well, we're not going to the NBA playoffs tomorrow night, but we might get our tickets from Game Time for Fenway if we want to double dip and go to 2 games instead of just 1 in Fenway this weekend. But regardless of that, regardless of what city you're in or will be in as well this upcoming weekend, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, when we come back, we will talk more about tonight's baseball game and plus what's on deck this weekend for South Carolina athletics. All right. And we're back. And we are back. Let me pull up some things here. Make sure we are good. So here's the deal. Raved about the game. Tremendous job. Gonna kind of go through just what happened, and kind of recap it, and then talk about what's on deck. So multiple things that are very impressive here. One, how about the fact that like this? You talk about starting like how to start a series off. This is the best way, right? Now you got an uphill battle against Cade Anderson and then Ianson as well. Ianson is one of the. I mean, like I said, he has been one of the best pitchers in the entire country over the past several weeks. But you get this win, and you did so in a way where it was like you had an opportunity in front of you, and you were able to take advantage of it. I love that so much. So when you talk about the keys to victory and what happened tonight, it's probably the same keys to victory that you're going to have over the weekend. Anytime you're able to hold a college baseball team under 5 runs, that's a really big deal. One of the things that's happened a ton with LSU is that they have been really good all year, especially on the mound. But from a hitting standpoint, they were near the top of the SEC for most of the year. They're led by a freshman, Derek Carrial, one of my favorite players in the entire country. He's a true freshman kid that spurned going to the big leagues last year to come to LSU. And all this kid has done is hit like 360. He reached base in his first 43 games. What was insane about that is like in his first 43 games, he reached base, but he also was on base at least twice, 2 or more times in like 37 of those 43 games. You shut him down, he goes 0 for 3. Now he reached base on a walk, but 0 for 3 with 2 Ks, we love that. Middle of the lineup kind of struggled with. Those guys went 6. They batted 400 on the night, 6 for 15. That's Jones, Dickinson, and Frey. You had a home run to Dickinson in the first inning. Obviously put you in a 2-0 hole. One of the things I loved about that, you go down 2-0. You come right back in the second inning, it's 2-1. You go down 3-1, and you come right back in the next inning, you tie it up, and it's 3-3. So you go into the 8th inning, and there's a stat that happened earlier this year, and I think it ended in College Station a couple weeks ago when they lost to A&M. But on the season, when LSU was up in the 8th inning, or seventh inning or later, something like that, they were 27-0 before that loss to South Carolina, to Texas A&M. So you got into a hornet's nest of a situation with LSU about trying to be able to come from behind. You get yourself down in the 8th inning, down 5-3. Like I just said, that team has been nearly unbeatable when they are in that position. Off the top of my head, I'm assuming because I think they won 2 games last week and they were up late in those games. One of them was a walk-off, but you're probably talking about a team that is like 28-1, 29-1 on the season when leading after the 7th inning or more. So you're down 5-3 going into the 8th. You scratch back, make it 5-4. You hit a home run in the top of the 9th or bottom of the 9th to make it 5-5. I mean, that's just a tremendous job. That's a tremendous job to be able to come in against a team that has been nearly unbeatable with their bullpen and be able to, against the same guy who lost that game to A&M, be able to go win a ball game. The keys here are pretty simple for South Carolina, and they have been for the entire season, guys. It's not rocket science. If you can figure out a way to not give up 10 runs, this team is going to play much better baseball. If you can figure out a way to get some runs early and not have to always come from behind, or actually, you know what? Maybe that is the play. Have them come from behind, just not come from behind from 10+ runs. Because this team has scratched across some runs late in games over the past couple games. And against Auburn in their last game, I think they put up like 10 runs or something like that. And it was like an 11-10 game in the final game of that series. So this team still has some fight. The keys to victory are the same. It's an uphill battle that you're facing to go out there and win. Go out there and win a series against them. If you do, it doesn't really make a difference into where the standings are going to be, or what you're going to be doing moving. You've clinched a spot now because Missouri is going to lose to Mississippi State. You've at least clinched a spot where you're going to be 15th in Hoover instead of 16th. Again, not a huge difference. There's no chance for you to move to 14. So there's not a ton to gain on the what do you call it? The not the stat sheet, but like in a box score, in the numbers box where like the records are being, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? There's not a lot to gain there, but from a pride standpoint and from a springboard standpoint into the next season, into the offseason, into recruiting, all that kind of stuff, there's a ton to gain. There's a ton to gain. Paul Mainieri smiled tonight. How great was that? Like, again, we have been very critical of Paul Mainieri. That is a phenomenal job that he was able to do tonight against if we're being honest, a much better team. I loved it. I thought it was great. You talk about the pitching staff. Crowther comes out 4.1 or 4 1/3, gives up 3 earned runs. Stone comes after that. He kind of struggled. He went 4 1/3, but he gave up 2 runs late. Becker comes in, kind of shuts the door, gets the final out. So you didn't use a ton of arms. You should be able to go to your main guys again. One thing that's interesting too is Cowan has been one of their best players in the entire season. The guy who closed, the kid is just a fastball circle change. I think the circle change might be a straight. I'm pretty sure it's a circle change. Fastball sits 92, 93, low 90s, right? He is a 2004, 2005 college pitcher. He's going to sit low 90s with a good fastball. He's going to locate it. He's going to throw you away, and he's going to throw changeups to keep you off balance. And he has a filthy changeup. He's one of the few college pitchers you will see that will challenge right-handed hitters as a right-handed pitcher and go righty-righty change, which we don't see a lot. Usually pitching coaches in college, it's a game of failure. You're going to call something off speed that breaks away from that hitter. You're not seeing that here with Cowan. He went 1 2/3 innings, and you got 3 earned runs off of him. You probably won't see him the rest of the way. So that is a really big deal because he has been lights out for the most part for the rest of the season. What do you do against Anderson and Ianson? First off, let's just go over their numbers real quick because so Anderson, if you're unfamiliar, lefty, him and Ianson, I believe they're like top 2 or 3 in the conference in strikeouts. I mean, like they have been, like I said, dominant. And I'm trying to find it to be on the safe side here, but it is. That's Liam Doyle. Well, either way. But you look at. Let me just pull this aside. The way they have this set up is so stupid. All right. From a pitching standpoint, you've got. Hold on. Why would they set this up this way on the SEC website? ERA. Cowan, like I said, he was 9th in the SEC with a 1.85 ERA on the year, and you were able to touch him up and get 3 runs off of him in the final 2 innings. From a strikeout standpoint, Cade Anderson is 2nd in the SEC. Anthony Ianson is 3rd. 124 strikeouts for Anderson and 116 for Ianson. To put that in perspective, that is right behind Liam Doyle from Tennessee, who has 1 more start than those guys. Kyson Witherspoon, who is going to be probably the highest drafted player from this conference, definitely the highest drafted pitcher, the kid from Oklahoma. He is 104 on the year. I mean, averaging roughly 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, or 9.6 for Anderson is very difficult. So the bats need to at least put the ball in play. It's still a game of failure. Good things happen when you put the baseball in play, and that's what this team has to do. Getting to them early, I will tell you right now, the leash will be short for those guys because at the very least, you do not want them having any sort of damaged psyche or confidence going into Hoover. So if you can get to them early, they will pull one of those guys, they will save them up for Hoover, and they will make sure they're good to go. They like LSU does not have a ton to lose or gain from this in the box score or in the standings or anything like that. From a confidence standpoint and a mental toughness and I guess confidence is the best way to put it. Going into Hoover, Cowan is already going to be a guy that's like, oh my gosh, now 2 of his last 3 weekends, he's gotten tagged with a loss because of giving up the only 2 losses they've had when leading after the 7th inning all season. So that's a guy that's going to have a little bit of shaky confidence. You cannot afford to have Anderson and Ianson go into the postseason with the same thing, because this is a team that has been fluctuating in the top 10 all year. They feel like they've kind of hit stride within the four walls of that locker room going into the postseason, because they currently, like I said, are ranked number 1 across the board. Figure out a way to touch up those guys early, get the bats going, and if you can limit the runs, because this offense will struggle. Like, this offense has struggled for LSU at times. I mean, like, and not just at home or on the road or anything like that. You saw it against Texas. You saw it early in games against the Tennessee game until they came back late in the 9th inning. You saw it against Auburn. Teams with good pitching staffs, which South Carolina doesn't really have, but teams with good pitching staffs that are able to kind of shut those bats down early. It takes this offense a while to get going. This is a lot of times an offense that seems to either jump on you early and then everyone catches fire, or if you can make it through that first part of the lineup, you can make it through the lineup the first time unscathed, or at least with limited damage, it's going to take them a while to get going and make adjustments. It seems like that has been the protocol for this LSU team for most of the year. All right, that is all for today's episode. Before we go, I do want to give you one quick, just bear with me here, a little tease for tomorrow's episode. We are going to talk about the South Carolina softball regional. We'll probably recap that on Sunday, but tomorrow, big day in terms of South Carolina athletics, because you're hosting a super regional. You're hosting a regional, and you are the number 8 team in the country. So you are in line to host a super regional if you are able to win. Tomorrow, the fun kicks off with Elon playing South Carolina. It's at 4:30. It's a home game, obviously. And then you don't have until, I think, when is it? Yeah, so the first game is at 2. Virginia and North Florida will play. That's an interesting game, too, because North Florida has been really, really good. And then you have Virginia. Virginia is a team that has lost South Carolina twice earlier this season. So make sure you stick around for that. Make sure if you're in the area, go out and support the team. It's fun to be in everything school. And South Carolina is well on their way to doing that. Before we leave, I do want to tell you real quick about our friends at Wayfair. Now, listen, Wayfair. The days are getting longer, the weather's warming up, and people are spending more time outside, which means it's the perfect time to refresh your outdoor space. Whether you're working with a big backyard or a small balcony, Wayfair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. Wayfair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've got it all, and at prices that fit your budget. Grab a new patio dining set and some string lights from Wayfair. Help extend your outdoor space. I tell you what, I personally love the mix of styles they offer. Wayfair makes it super easy to find pieces that match your vibe without spending a fortune. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture this summer. Get outside. Get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All right, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see y'all again this weekend. Wish me luck in Boston. And above all else, go Cox.